right, gang, welcome back to Tales from the Longbox. This is Bryan, and joining me is Paul Davis. This is the first episode of Paul's Pull List, where we'll go through the upcoming comics that are coming out this week and talk to Paul about what he's excited about. And if we have time, we may chat about a comic or two somewhere along the way also. I do apologize for my screen issues here. We're still working on some of the setup. But Paul, welcome back, my friend.
Good evening. How is everyone? How are you?
Well, I'm the only person who can answer you, and
So you're great. Good. I do this every time. How is everyone? Well, there's only one or two of us here, so we're good. Shut up. This week's pull list is in no particular order because I have a horrible time ranking my comics from favorite to least favorite. I even have a hard time ranking them down to top 5 or 10. So I've pulled out about 10 that I like and 5 that I'm probably more excited about than others, but they're in no particular order. And these are just ones this is just kind of the order I probably would read them when I grab them. Not that I like them better. This is just kind of the way I saw them.
Gotcha.
So without further ado, the first book I'm looking forward to is The Immortal Hulk, number 42. If you guys have been following this storyline, this has taken the Hulk in a whole new direction. Not only is there multiple personalities within the Hulk, there's a whole different universe, a gamma universe that is within the Hulk. In other words, his characters not only reside inside his own mind, they reside inside a whole nother dimension. And of course, the leader is one of the main bad guy in this whole series. And of course, I love the leader because he's got that big old head. Any character of a big old head, I love. I'm just looking at the art on the cover of this is incredible, and that is huge with receding hairline and just pale green. It's great.
This doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you have a rather large head yourself, does it?
Have a large, big old head? Yes, it probably does, but that's okay.
I mean, you're not
big head,
Hammond
balding guys. What's that?
You're not like Hector Hammond level or anything, but
No. But just big old head guys got to stick together.
Yeah. Like MODOK is pretty high on your list because he's basically.
Oh yeah, top three. In fact, if this was one of my favorite books from last week was MODOK. He has his own series, and MODOK's having some interpersonal problems. He's starting to develop a consciousness, little feelings. This is not good. MODOK's not supposed to have feelings.
Right. So what is it about the Immortal Hulk that really, really draws you in?
New direction on the story. The Hulk has always been, either a mindless brute or a merger between Banner and the Hulk, so he's super intelligent, or he's been some other entity that was the Gray Hulk, gangster. The Red Hulk, not part of him, but every Hulk has got a little different personality. This Immortal Hulk shows all the Hulk personalities kind of at war with each other and trying to come together with a peace. And there's a new personality they've introduced called the Devil Hulk. The Devil Hulk is actually the Hulk. He was the first Hulk. He was the fracture in the psyche of David Banner, which made when his father was abusing him physically as a child. This was the fracture that in the psyche, this was who he became that wanted to protect him. So the Devil Hulk is all about protecting Banner and Banner's interests no matter what, to the point where he actually kills. It's not that I approve of or disapprove of killing in the comics, but it's a complete departure from what the Hulk has always been. He's killed, but it's always been accidental.
Right.
The Devil Hulk actually goes out like the Punisher and punishes.
So
plus the art is really, really excellent.
The cover looks pretty interesting. I've not really kept up with the Immortal Hulk. I've not really read much of it, to be honest. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm a little concerned that the Hulk is starting to go down that road of having too many different types of Hulk.
Oh, very, very, very true. But they're also some of them aren't going to make it. I
Gotcha.
think this is going to be a weeding. In my personal opinion, they're going to weed out some also, where there's going to go down to just a Banner and a Hulk again. I think this is like a big, big storyline, which brings a lot of the Hulk stuff from the past, the goofy storylines and the history of all these multiple personalities to a head. And I think it's going to get rid of a lot of those.
Ah,
You're gonna get back, I think, personally, to Banner and the simple Hulk who just wants to be left alone. I think that's going to be the winners.
now, is the current storyline tying in at all with the King in Black, or has it? Is it
This current storyline has not, but there has been a one shot of a mortal Hulk and the King in Black because there was a Hulk Venom hybrid for a small amount of time uh, during the build up to all this King in Black stuff when the Null storyline was going on and there was the Carnage portion of the Null storyline.
right?
That's when you saw a lot of the different characters get venomized, i.e., the Hulk was one of them for a short amount of time. So yes and no. This story doesn't necessarily tie into it, but there has been. So this character has been a part of it.
Okay. What's next?
Next, Amazing Spider-Man number 57. Spider-Man, they have been putting out Spider-Man or Amazing Spider-Man for the past one issue a week for the past several months.
Wow.
And what it boils down to is, spoiler alert, Harry Osborn's back. And his son, what was his son's name? No, Harry, I'm sorry. Pardon me for comic fans. Harry was the son. Norman was the dad. Norman, bad guy. Harry is back evidently at some point in the past when I wasn't paying attention to Spider-Man. He died and went to hell. Well, now he's back as a demon with these centipede-looking things running around him. And he is just going through the process of making Peter Parker's life a living hell. He's going through and torturing all of Peter Parker's friends and family to show the world, in his opinion, that Peter is the bad guy. All this bad stuff that happens to Spider-Man and all the people around him is directly because of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. The Harry Osborn brought back the Sin Eater from hell, made him nearly immortal, and give him a shotgun, which when he shoots somebody, it basically takes their sins and also their powers, if they're a super person, and brings it into themselves. So the Sin Eater was getting all powerful, and you had a lot of these villains that were becoming good guys. Not necessarily good guys, they were like almost shells of themselves. They totally knew what they'd done wrong. They knew all their sins. They just wanted to be incarcerated. I admit this all is kind of a goofy storyline. But what it brings up to, Sin Eater shoots Norman Osborn, takes on his power, evil, and absolves Norman. Norman suddenly has the crushing weight of all these years of evil come down on him. And now all he can do is think about how evil he's been to everyone around him and what he can do to try to salvage that. So you're seeing a Norman Osborn that is being crushed with his own guilt and doing everything he can to try to save the people around him, which is exactly what Harry wanted him to do. He wanted to torture his father and torture Peter, because that's the two people he considers have caused the most harm to him and to everyone around him.
So Norman's heart grew 2 sizes that day.
He grew 2 sizes that day, which in the real world is a medical problem. It means you have a large heart, and you cannot live with that, not for long.
Okay. I would probably have to go back and read all those issues to sort of unwrap all that and make sense of it. But
yeah, it's. I'm not doing it justice. I really can't do it justice.
For Norman, is this where this is going? Or
I'm sorry, what?
Is this like a redemption arc for Norman? Do you think that's where they're going with it?
They're trying it, but I think it's going to end up being a redemption arc that ends in his death. And of course, nobody stays dead for very long, so he'll go to hell. Harry will get redeemed. Then they'll swap places, and it's just a big merry-go-round.
Maybe they can all end up in the Hulk's mind in his gambling.
Could be, because if you go to hell, evidently there's a green door that's the outside of that's from hell to the Gamma universe, which the green door leads to the inside of Banner's mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they take the other green door. They go and they become Green Lanterns of Earth, and
Right. Or they become Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because the green door leads to the sewer.
All right. So what's next?
Okay, those first two were kind of legacy comics, I call them, because you really have to be invested in the backstory to get those.
Right.
Here's a decent jumping off point. It has to do with the King in Black, but it's Thunderbolts #1. I like the Marvel version of the Suicide Squad, which has always been the Thunderbolts, and this version is Wilson Fisk is the mayor of New York. Wilson Fisk has all these symbiotes running around. He's got a Norman Osborn that's crying on his shoulder. Oh, look at me! Look what I did. He's got dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. So what does he do? He goes into the bar with no name and says, "I need a few guys. You want some money? You want some pardons? You want to get out a free card? I'm the mayor. I got you covered." So he gets Taskmaster, the Rhino, and a couple other people I was not very familiar with. In fact, let me look that up because it excited me. I love the idea of villains doing good, especially the Thunderbolts. And this is all in response to the King in Black storyline. It's to try to get rid of try to fight the creatures of Null, the dragons that are attacking New York. Oh, yes, excuse me. Taskmaster, great character. Knockoff of Deathstroke, but really good. The Rhino. He's a low-key juggernaut Hulk with a horn. Come on, that's good. Star, never heard of her. Don't know. Pass. Mr. Fear. Kind of looks like, never heard of him either. He kind of looks like a knockoff of the Spectre. And finally, one of the goofiest villains ever, Broderick the Leaper. Because you want a sassy French guy that fights with his feet only, and has had his butt handed to him by Captain America so many times. But let's put him in the Thunderbolts. I'm interested to see how bad he gets his butt kicked.
The Leaper has to rank up there with like Kite Man from DC as like some of the absolute most bizarre villains ever.
The one villain hero I could see Broderick actually, just wiping the floor with is probably Frogman. Because Frogman he's just a bus boy. The latest issue of Iron Man, he is a busboy in a restaurant owned by the Gargoyle from Defenders fame. And Tony Stark needs some heroes, and all he can find is his second-rate dudes, and one of them is the Gargoyle, who had nothing better to do, and his busboy, the Frogman, who really had nothing better to do. I think Broderick Leaper has a chance to take Frogman down. But I'm making fun of the comic, but this eclectic group of heroes actually could have some good chemistry. I see a lot of potential for comedy.
So that's 3 Marvels. You got anything from DC that's tickling your fancy?
The next one out goes back to our previous state, the future state, our previous podcast YouTube show, and my computer's running slow. I was going to go back, but I'm looking forward to the Dark Detective because that is Bruce Wayne. That is Bruce Wayne's thought he was dead. He's not dead, and there's a new crime syndicate that's coming into Gotham, and this is his version of taking them on. So I'm looking forward to see their take on Bruce Wayne. We're seeing all these newer characters coming into fruition, but this is to my knowledge, the first older legacy character we're going to see as far as the big 3, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. And if my computer would cooperate, I could tell you a little more about it. The sinister paramilitary organization known as the Magistrate. So it looks like the Magistrate is going to be the big bads that's going to run through the Future State Detective Comics, because honorable mention was the Eternal Robin. It looks like Robin and Spoiler will be doing something with the Dark Detective. I didn't rank that as my top 10, but
So
it's honorable.
kind of looks like all of the Batman related things, anything set in Gotham is going to be around the Magistrate. And
Yep.
that is definitely sort of a shared universe there. We're not.
And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, when Batman has been at his best, to me, the stories have been Gotham centric and Bat Family centric. When he starts being used in the cosmic sense, even though I love to see him draw his fist up and punch Darkseid on Apocalypse. I really enjoy the Batman more when he's down to earth, street level, and fighting his rogues gallery.
Yeah,
that's the Batman I enjoy the most.
Yeah,
but yes, Dark Detective. That's another one I'm looking forward to.
Okay. What else? Bag of tricks.
What's that?
What else you got in your bag of tricks?
Planet of the Symbiotes. I've talked all about it, but why not we just jump into it? I don't know much about this comic. I've not looked it up, but what I do know is it is a Null tie-in, and it's the symbiote planet, and the cover of the comic has Null on it holding a planet. That's enough for me, because I'm well invested into the symbiote, the take over Null, the King in Black storyline. So this is the next logical progression of that in the comics, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm not even read much about it because honestly, I don't want to spoil it. I just want to jump right into it and see what's next and be happily surprised with the rest of the readers.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about our big King in Black talk this weekend. That's
right.
Pretty good stuff.
And I'm looking through my list of that's the top 5, but I have 5 more that are kind of honorable mentions, kind of what I would go to after I read these first 5. And I'm very Marvel heavy, and I think it's because DC has I'm on the fence with Future State. We talked about last time. There's one real good one, 2 or 3 really okay ones, one really bad one. So beyond the Batman, the others I'm going to read, but I'm not ecstatic about them yet.
Right.
Interested, just not ready to jump full force and say this is my stuff. This is what I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
But my next one on the list is the Union. All I gotta say is Marvel's British Heroes. It's got Union Jack in it. That's enough. I mean, I love Union Jack. That's a classic uniform. I mean, you got Captain America with the red, white, and blue. You got Union Jack and the big Union Jack flag on his chest. He hunts vampires. He's a smart aleck. He drinks a pint of beer. Come on.
It is.
That's a cool costume, and that's enough for me to be interested in that.
Yeah.
Storyline, honestly, I read it has a King in Black tie-in too, I see, but I don't even remember what the tie-in was. Last time I saw it, there's a bunch of British heroes. They got together, they didn't like each other, and they started fighting amongst themselves. And then I think a symbiote dragon crash landed into England, right, London actually, and that's where it ended. So that's where we're going to pick up on this one. Stop fighting, big dragon. There's the tie. Honestly, pretty loose tie-in. I don't know if I'd even count that as part of the King in Black story, but they're just trying to do something to get the comic a little attention.
Right.
That's all it is.
And you're 5 out of 6. You're Marvel.
Well, it's going to get worse.
There you are with a Batman background and a Green Lantern hat, and you're just.
I know. The Batman and the Green Lantern. That's love. That's childhood love. But they haven't shown me anything right lately that makes me them would be my first to read. I'm going to read them, but like I said, the next one goes back to you and I've talked about this a lot. The X-Men.
Yeah.
The new Sword series. The new Sword, the new replacement for Alpha Flight in space. The replacement for the Space Force, basically. A lot of C-list characters in this, but it is the X-Men space, and they're on the front line for all the Cosmic Defender stuff. There's no Alpha space station not there. It's up to the X-Men to defend the Earth. So I'm just excited for that because it's another King in Black tie-in. Because right now, that's the biggest problem in space coming towards the Earth.
Right.
So going to be reading that because X-Men tie-in. Just looking forward to that.
You can't go wrong
And here comes
with X-Men stuff.
nothing wrong with that. Here comes a shocker. Let's go to the independent world.
Hey, there you go.
Bloodshot number 10.
Ah.
It's hard to beat Valiant for good stories. Sometimes their art's not the best in the world, but generally their stories are good. And Bloodshot has been a character I've liked since the early mid 90s when it first come out. I mean, he's a super soldier like Punisher. Well, excuse me, soldier like Punisher. He has nanites coursing through his body, so he makes him a super soldier to a Wolverine extent or beyond as far as the healing factor goes. He has the memory loss, actually the memory wipe that they keep doing to him. He's just a tragic character that is trying to do some good now. And just a lot of good old-fashioned blood and carnage in his comics. Because he's unstoppable, he has big guns, and he just mows through his whole competition or his enemies. It's good, bloody romp.
While we're on that subject, did you ever watch the Vin Diesel Bloodshot movie?
I did. I would not consider it the worst movie I've ever seen. I would not consider it an instant cinematic classic. It was entertaining, but it did not capture the Bloodshot to me like from the comics. But it did. At least it was. If there's any saving grace, it was a comic, an independent comic on the big screen. I think they could have got a younger, more talented actor for it. Not that there's anything wrong with Vin Diesel, but he's older than I am. Look at me. Do you want me to be on the big screen as a comic character? No, I'm kind of past my prime. You could have got a younger dude. That just
come on, you
my
make
opinion.
a great Wizard Shazam. I mean, you.
I could make a good Wizard Shazam. Maybe an old man Hawkeye.
Yeah, sure. All right, what's after Bloodshot?
Got two more. We're still playing the independent realm. Green Hornet number 5.
Yeah, that's always one of your go-tos.
Love Green Hornet. Any guy in a suit and tie that fights crime. You know, suit and tie, mask, a nice hat. Great. Got the chauffeur. Bruce Lee is Kato. And this one is interesting because the Green Hornet has intercepted a baby from a paramilitary operation which crash landed on Earth when he was sent by his parents from a planet that was dying.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing a take on Superman without it being Superman.
Uh-huh.
But the gist of it is Green Hornet saves this intergalactic baby, and somehow he becomes the savior of the universe in the far future. And he's all to thank the Green Hornet and Kato for saving him when he's his most vulnerable as a baby. That's all they're telling about the story. It's definitely a different departure for any of the Green Hornet stories in the past. They've always been really low-key Batman type, street level hero versus street level villain. But it's Green Hornet. I'm a sucker for that. I'm reading it. It's a good read.
All right. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, that's an interesting take. I don't think I ever thought.
I never would have ever considered Green Hornet and Baby from Outer Space. I wouldn't even consider him in a cosmic role, period.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have expected them to do anything with aliens in general, but certainly not kind of going aliens plus superhero. Like, you know.
The Green Hornet universe is very non-power specific in the past. I mean,
right.
It's been the only other character I've seen him interact with. There's been crossover with Batman 66 in the year 1966, and there's been the Lone Ranger. Supposedly, Britt Reed is a descendant of the Lone Ranger.
Huh.
But still, all that is street level, non-powered, just masked heroes with fists, guns, and their wits about them.
Yeah. Huh.
So I guess that's why I was intrigued by it. First, it was just Green Hornet. Then it was like, well, this is a different story. I'm going to see it through to the end.
Yeah, that's kind of intriguing. I might have to pick that one up myself.
Yep, it's worth the read.
All right, so
and finally on my, what's that?
Are you independent on this last one, or are we going to?
Nope, I went back to Marvel. I'm a sucker for X-Men. This is the Marauders number 17, and this is the rematch between Storm and Callisto for dominance.
Wow. Yeah, that's reaching back into the 80s there.
Yeah, classic comic readers remember that was the for leadership of the Molochs.
Yeah.
And after the Marauders came through and destroyed them.
Huh.
So this ought to be good. I don't know who I'm putting my money on, but last time Storm won. It wouldn't surprise me if Callisto wins this time. Wow. Do I know what they're fighting over? I have no idea. The whole thing starts in this issue, and they haven't started having it out in this issue. So we will all learn together, true believers.
That's that may move pretty high up my list, because that's that's cool. I remember that fight between Callisto and Storm pretty vividly from.
Yep. Same here.
That was my really strong X-Men days. And
that's back when Storm had the mohawk and she was bad to the bone.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out. All right. Well, that's an eclectic mix, but very Marvel heavy. You are definitely drifting towards Marvel.
And the last year or so, I have drifted more towards Marvel and independent than I have DC. I've just started coming around a little more DC heavy. This particular week, even though there is several future state things out there, I'm cautiously optimistic about such things as the Justice League, Teen Titans, Green Lantern, Robin Eternal, Superman and Wonder Woman, Kara Zor-El, Superwoman. I don't think there's going to be anything wrong with them just by looking from the outside in, but there's, as we've shown with the Flash, there's potential for tragedy when you open the pages.
Oh yeah.
So
I got to be honest with you, man. Other than death metal, I wasn't really that interested in much of DC's weekly output. So
nope. Death metal was good, and the Shazam, when they were still doing the Shazam series, I was interested in that because that's one of my childhood heroes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading the future state stuff because it's kind of new and different. If future state wasn't going on right now, I don't know that I would really be reading a lot of DC stuff.
Right. If future state wasn't going on, there may not even been Dark Detective in my top 10. Would I've read Batman? Yeah, I probably would have read it because I've kept up with Batman, the comic, for years. But it's almost like I'm this far into it, I'm going to keep reading. It's not like I was super charged about each issue.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the stuff that I was interested in reading on a monthly basis, outside of death metal, they canceled them. Those were the titles that got shut down. And if you're talking Wonder Woman and Superman and the 18 different versions of Superman and Batman, I'm generally not following those super heavy, but things like Legion of Superheroes and Young Justice, stuff like that, I was following pretty heavy, and they killed all of it. So
the ones I was the most into was Dark Justice League. That's where I got my Wonder Woman fix.
Yeah, Justice League Dark, and I was even reading Odyssey when it was going, Justice League Odyssey, but
it was okay, but I kind of got out of it. I don't know exactly what did it for me, but I stopped reading it fairly early.
Yeah,
I liked the characters. I liked Azrael. I liked the Cyborg. I liked Starfire. I just lost interest. It wasn't even one I was interested enough in to pick up and read, which that's a bad sign.
Yeah. So
what Red Hood and the Outlaws? That was a good book.
Yeah. I think there's some version of that that's going to come back after.
I hope so. Jason Todd's actually become one of my favorite characters, and when he was Robin, I despised him.
Yeah,
I despised the Jason Todd Robin, but this Red Hood character is really good.
So let's talk just briefly about one kind of throwaway comic that slipped through the cracks last week. The DC Generation Shattered.
Yes.
I had no idea this comic was even really coming out. They haven't promoted it or talked about it in any big capacity, but to me it was almost as interesting as death metal with the scope of it. It was almost like a 0 hour kind of thing.
Yeah, they undersold this comic horribly. It should have been up there right with Future State. In fact, I would say finish Death Metal, read this one, and then start into Future State because this was a big comic.
Yeah.
It didn't have a lot of. It had big heroes, but you saw the big heroes like Superman basically getting revamped, destroyed, taken away, gone through, wiped out by the time stream. And once again, you had the hero the greatest hero nobody's ever heard of, saving the day. Booster Gold is one of the greatest heroes in the DC universe, and he plays the biggest clown. And he is one of the greatest behind the scenes heroes that nobody ever reads about. Jeff Johns set him up as that, and to me, he's still one of the greatest heroes.
Yeah.
It showed it in this. He went and got Commandy. He sacrificed himself to try to save the overall timeline.
Yeah, this was I like the odd cast of characters pulled from different timelines.
Absolutely.
If you're going to say Batman, most people, would have certainly expected a different Batman than the very first iteration.
Yeah, the 1939 Batman.
Yeah.
Who's wet behind the ears and green as a gourd, fresh out of whatever paramilitary schools he just left to become Batman.
Yeah.
And you don't get Superman in his prime, but you get Booster Gold when he's at his most fame hungry.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is comedy gold, I'm telling you. Comedy gold.
Yeah, I really liked this one, and I think there is a follow-up to it called I don't remember. It's
yeah, there's a follow-up to it, and the name is slipping me right now.
It's another
Future Perfect, Future Imperfect.
I don't know.
Something like that.
But again, our preparation is what really sets us apart from the other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're killing it. I can't remember this name. I don't remember that. Oh yeah, we got it going on.
The thrilling moments of looking things up on the computer. That
looking sideways at my second screen, going.
People will remember that for decades. It's just
absolutely.
There is a follow-up coming. We don't know the name of it, but it
watch for it.
Watch for it. I mean, it's a fun comic. It may or may not have any lasting consequences on anything, but it's just one of those things of throwing a lot of different characters together. Starfire straight from the 1980s, Teen Titans, New Teen Titans, Superboy, not Superman.
From the Legion of Superhero days.
Yeah, right.
That's the 30s, 40s, or maybe 60s. I'm trying to. No, it can't be 30s or 40s. It might be 60s.
Yeah, probably 60s era. Yeah. Who else? Was there anybody else there that? We already mentioned Commandy.
Booster Gold, Commandy. Trying to look it up real quick.
Interesting, they pulled a lot of guest appearances in there as well, so you get to see things like
Steel.
Oh yeah,
Steel from '93 when he was fresh on the scene and brand new.
Yep.
Sinestro when he was a Green Lantern.
Yeah, Green Lantern Sinestro. Yeah,
that's and right. Dr. Light, the lady Asian Dr. Light, who's immensely powerful but an underused character.
Yeah, I don't understand why she doesn't get a little more use in the DC universe. I guess because you don't have time to use characters like Dr. Light when you've got, 15 Green Lanterns to try to fit in and 6 Flashes.
Yes. You've got 10 zillion other characters you've got to try to work with. So
yeah. All right. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it was I don't know why they didn't promote this at all. Why they didn't?
Nope, but it was a fun read. Even if you don't read any more than this, even if you read Death Metal, I would definitely read Generation Shattered, number
Yeah, I mean,
one.
like it's not
Like
groundbreaking, right? This isn't anything new. It's kind of retreading the 0 hour kind of thing. You know, somebody's destroying time, but it's okay. I don't care because it's just
yeah, it's just fun.
yeah, yeah. Not enough of that in comics, so certainly not in DC's comics.
Absolutely.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Paul's got a lot of Marvel stuff he's looking forward to this week, and several King in Black tie-ins, which will work out well because we're going to talk about that later this week, and I think that's going to be a fun show. There's a lot of stuff. I've still got to catch up, but I'm about halfway
For
through.
homework,
It was
for
pretty.
homework, folks, go back about 4 years. Start reading every Venom you possibly can, every Spider-Man, and then you got about a half of it. Then you go do some Guardians of the Galaxy because there's no catching up. If
There's
you're not caught up now, it's horrible.
just gonna have to kind of dive in and
But the good thing about it is the story's been building for years.
yeah.
So it's finally coming to the grand conclusion, which I've been looking forward to.
Yeah. That first issue, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but that first issue was there was big stuff.
Yeah. And it keeps getting, it doesn't slow down.
Yeah. All right. Well, Paul, thanks for the suggestions. There's several there that I'm going to put on my list and have to check out this week.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, this, like I said, it's always fun to sit and talk comics with you. We'll do this again next week as well and talk about, what's coming out next week.
We'll see. We'll see if I'm still Marvel heavy or if I bring some DC in.
If you had to pick just one of these comics you had on your list this week, what would it be?
Immortal Hulk. I have to go for Immortal Hulk because
Yeah.
I'm a Hulk fan since I was very, very little.
Yeah. Well, I remember our conversation from the other day. You were really high on the Immortal Hulk, so
Yep.
I'm
Of all the ones this week, if I had to pick just one, it'd be Immortal Hulk.
well. I'm going to have to go catch up on the Immortal Hulk because number one, I hope that it's as good to me as it is to you. But number two, if it's not, and I think it's horrible, I can really,
You can really give me the business about it.
yeah, and that's just as important to me as enjoying a comic. So,
Last time we did this, we were gonna rib each other about Grant Morrison, and we ended up liking the Green Lantern series,
yeah,
which is surprising to both of us.
yeah, and I think we need to have a big chat at some point about the Grant Morrison run on Green Lantern, like a really in-depth chat, and just go maybe even issue by issue on that and discuss, or at least arc by arc, maybe. And
Yeah, we could. I could easily do that. It's one of the ones I look forward to when it comes out. Now I'm wondering how it's going to interact with Future State.
I don't think it is, man. I don't think Morrison gives a crap about any of that stuff.
Nope, I don't think it is either. In fact, the new Green Lantern comic, the reason I didn't put it on my top 10 this week is because it looks like it doesn't have anything to do with Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner.
Yeah,
It does have Guy Gardner.
yeah. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Future State, but I think after Future State is over, if Grant Morrison isn't done with his run by that point, and I imagine Grant Morrison will just jump right back into telling the same crazy sci-fi stories that he's been telling with no care whatsoever about continuity. So
He never has.
yeah, he really never has. All right, well, good talk, Paul. I will talk to you later this week, folks. We will be back with more Tales from the Longbox, and the King in Black is on his way. So we're gonna have a big chat about that.
Yep.
Until next time, this is Bryan and Paul signing off for World Class Nerd and Tales from the Longbox.
Bye, folks.